Good morning, everybody. And it gives me immense pleasure to be here at this platform. And I would like to, at the outset, I would like to thank Department of Women and Child Development, Government of Kerala to have invited me on this, to give me this platform and invited me to talk to a lot of my healthcare professionals who are out there in the field working in such difficult situations. And I'm sure, I mean, I'm on the other side. I sit in the hospital and people come to me. But this is the other way around, that you approach people. It is so difficult, I can understand. But it really gives me a pleasure to talk to you today. So the topic which is given to me is nutrition for lactating mothers. So it will be a little technical, as well as, we'll go over to the diet, how to translate the nutrition principles into our dietary principles. So we'll have a look at that. And what is diet diversity? How can we ensure the quality of diet? That also we'll see a little bit of that. So at the outset, I would like to say that we often confuse lactation with breastfeeding, although they are integrated together, but lactation and breastfeeding are not synonymous. Lactation refers to the formation of milk in the breast, the duration of lactation starts from the time of maturation to at the time when the child starts taking his complementary foods. And this is a process of secretion and yielding of milk by the mammary glands. While breastfeeding is feeding the baby, which is also called nursing the young children with milk, which is produced from the breast of the women. So a little bit of facts of human milk and lactation. Breast milk is the best form of nutrition we all know for our infants and neonates. The properties of breast milk facilitates the transition of life both in utero or ex utero. So breast milk has a diverse array of bioactive substances, which is instrumental in developing the brain, immune system, and gut system of the child. Knowledge of the mammary glands, how the human milk is produced, and its properties, and how it protects the breastfed infant is really important. So healthcare workers as well as professionals, we all play a very crucial role in the mother's decision to breastfeed the babies and facilitate her success in lactation. So they would be at times they would have certain very fixed attitudes and cultural beliefs about breastfeeding, and it is our job to initiate this and get them to start breastfeeding and lactation with proper advice. So mothers definitely will not be aware of the benefits that the breast milk gives as a short-term and long-term benefits to both the child as well as to herself. So it is our duty to explain how it helps the child's overall growth as well as development, and it is also passing a lot of benefits to the mother as well. So why is nutrition so important during lactation? Simply because infant derives all his nutrition from the mother. Till 6 months of age, he is completely dependent on the mother for his nutrition. After 6 months also, our advice is to continue breastfeeding till 2 years of age. So child is definitely taking a lot of her own stores, the mother's stores, to nourish itself. Optimum nourishment of the child for his rapid growth and development definitely depends on mother's milk and during this time. So the mother's health as well as indirectly the growth of the infant and its development is related. Mother also needs adequate nutrients to nourish both the child as well as herself. Any inadequacy in the maternal diet and nutritional requirements which the mother should get at this time adversely affects the mother's nutritional status. The child will take all his nutrition from the mother irrespective of the fact that the mother is malnourished. He will get all the nutrients, he will get his total milk, and the quality of milk is not going to change depending on the mother's health. But it is the mother's health which is going to deteriorate if it doesn't take proper nutrition, and indirectly in the long term, it will affect the child's health. So, what is the impact of the mother's nutritional status on lactation? A well-nourished mother, and if we see in the Western countries, they secrete as much as 850 ml of milk per day. A severely malnourished mother may produce only 400 to 500 ml of milk per day, which happens mostly up to 600 ml, maybe, on an average, which happens in most of the developing countries. Reduced nutrition does not impact the quality of breast milk, as I already said. But even if the diet of the mother is not able to meet mother's own nutritional needs, child draws on her body's reserves and meet the needs of lactation at the cost of mother's health. So the child will benefit, but indirectly the mother will get malnourished. So dietary deficiencies, particularly of water-soluble vitamins, lead to lower levels of vitamins in breast milk. So that has a direct impact on the nutritional quality of breast milk if the deficiency of water-soluble vitamins is there in the diet of the mother. However, the protein, the calcium, and the carbohydrate content is not altered even if the mother is malnourished. So the importance of nutrition during lactation is the mother needs additional nutrition for sufficient breast milk production, also to provide adequate nutrients to the infant. Also, mother's daily needs should be provided as per the requirement of the mother to maintain her own nutritional status. So let us see how much of energy a mother would need, lactating mother would need. So what is the recommendation? The recommendation of the energy requirement for a non-pregnant, a normal mother, a normal woman who is non-pregnant and non-lactating, who weighs about 55 kgs, is about 1900, 2200, and 2800 for sedentary, moderate, and heavy worker respectively. And this is very clearly given in National Nutrition of in our recommended dietary allowances for nutrients by NIN. For the first 6 months, the energy requirement of the mother is increased by 600 calories, and between 6 to 12 months, the increase in calories is by 520. There is hardly not much of a difference. But what does it entail? These are just the numbers. We don't understand what is these numbers mean. So when we are in the field, we can't say you have to have additional 600 calories or you have to have additional 500 kilocalories. That has to be translated in terms of diet. And how much is it? It's a wrong notion when people think a lactating mother needs to eat a lot of food. It is not so. It is just an addition of one meal, which involves a cereal, whether it is chapati or rice, a pulse or a meat, regional areas. It could be a laddu, it could be a panjiri, halwa, or maybe a handful of nuts. Then additional drink, which could be fruit, simply fruit with milk or milkshake, it could be given. So in total, if we want to give 600 kilocalories, this is what it translates into. It is one extra, 2 snacks extra, and a drink extra. So what about the protein requirement? A protein requirement is substantially increased because at first 6 months, mother needs additional 20 grams of proteins. And between 6 to 12 months of age of the baby, protein requirements increases by about 15 grams. So where do we get all these proteins from? We can have a good quality protein from animal foods, which includes egg, meat, fish, chicken. and milk products, and increased milk and milk products, of course. And then for vegetarians, one can advise cereals and pulse combination to improve the protein quality. We all know 4 parts of cereal and 1 part of pulse is provides the same quality of protein as the animal foods. And good sources of vegetarian proteins are soya bean, tofu, pulses, lentil, nuts, lot of seeds, grams, cereals, millets. All these things can be advised for protein content of the mother. What about fat requirements? Yes, there is a substantial increase in fat requirement as well, which is up to the tune of 30 grams. But what we need to understand here is that this fat is not the visible fat. It is combined as invisible as well as visible fat. We don't have to provide 30 grams of ghee or butter or oil to the mother. What will happen? The mother will start putting on a lot of weight and child will still remain unhealthy. It is not going to impact the child, because as I said, that all the nutrients are not passed on in the breast milk. It is not going to impact the quality of breast milk. The child will still get the same amount of breast milk. So the fat, 30 grams of fat is both invisible as well as visible fat. So where do we get from these fat content? From a variety of oils, nuts, oily fish, and egg. All these things have invisible fat. Nuts, fish, and egg has invisible fat. Meat has invisible fat. Milk has invisible fat. So this could be given as invisible fat. And then we should give a lot of sources of long chain PUFAs, oily fish, egg yolk, and organ meats, sources of omega-3 fatty acids. The combination of these oils like rapeseed, mustard, and soya bean can be used for the sources of omega-6 fatty acids, sunflower, cottonseed, corn, and soya bean. As we all say in our recommendation, that not one single oil should not be used. We should keep on changing our oils, and should be a combination of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, both PUFA and MUFA. So that is what, if we combine these oils, we get both the benefits of omega-3 and omega-6. So carbohydrate requirements, there are no specific recommendations for lactation for carbohydrate requirements. In an Indian diet, we know that 60% of the total energy, and sometimes even 70% of the total energy, is derived from carbohydrate, as we are a carbohydrate society, and most of our calories are from carbohydrate based foods. But what is more important is the quality of carbohydrates. It should be advised to a lactating mother. And what do we prefer? We prefer complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates which has low glycemic index. High glycemic index foods break down quickly during digestion, and their blood glucose rise very fast, while low glycemic index food break down slowly during digestion and have a sustained increase in blood glucose levels. So what do we prefer? We prefer low glycemic index foods. And what are complex carbohydrates? Which has fiber and are of low glycemic index, which determines the quality of carbohydrates in the diet. And what are our sources of the complex carbohydrates? Is the whole cereals, whole pulses, lot of vegetables, and lot of fruits. And these fruits, whole fruits, not fruit juices, these fruits which can be eaten with peels, with seeds, they are preferable, and they are more complex in nature than those which cannot be eaten with their peels and seeds. Then the other mineral requirement which are of importance to a lactating mother is calcium. And the requirement of calcium doubles to the tune of 1200 mg from the normal 600 mg. So a lot of calcium sources need to be advised to the mother. And the best bioavailable source we all know is milk. And that's why during lactation, we increase the milk to about 1 liter. A lot of times we say a lot of calcium and proteins need to be given so that mother maintains a lean body mass, also giving a lot of proteins. So how much of calcium does milk provide? It's 125 mg per 100 ml. Other sources are milk products like cheese, curd, green leafy vegetables, Millets like ragi, especially ragi, has a very high amount of calcium, and nuts. Then iron, there is no increase of iron and it's not recommended during lactation. But what is very important is that how is iron made bioavailable to the mother? Because we all know most of our pregnant and lactating mothers are deficient in iron content. They're very, very anemic. So this very important thing to make the absorption, to promote the absorption of iron is the use of vitamin C and the presence of meat, fish, and poultry. But most of our, most of our population is vegetarian. So the best bet is the use of vitamin C, and those who are non-vegetarians would get the iron absorption from the use of meat, fish, and poultry. However, in a vegetarian diet, we also have a lot of inhibitors of iron absorption, like phytates. On one hand, we are talking about providing complex carbohydrate to the mother, which is actually present in legumes and grains, whole grains and all. But on the other hand, they also have phytates. So uh, uh, there are both benefits and disadvantages of prescribing a particular diet. So we have to strike a balance what to give in a diet. So that that proves that the diet has to be a variety of foods, whether it is complex as well as simple. It is a combination of both foods. Polyphenols, which also hinders the absorption of iron, which is essentially tea and coffee, and proteins like soya bean, which we often say is very good protein for the pregnant and the lactating mothers, but then it also has inhibitory factors. Then calcium and zinc also inhibit the absorption of iron. So we should not give a lot of calcium and zinc rich foods, as well as the tablets of calcium and zinc uh, along with the iron supplements or iron rich foods. So iodine, there are no specific recommendations. The prescription is to use iodized salt for all the lactating mothers. So other mineral requirements like magnesium, sodium, zinc, there's no specific recommendations for lactation, but they are definitely very important during the pregnancy, the whole of pregnancy period. And again, magnesium is in nuts, whole grain products, and dark green leafy vegetables. Sodium is there to maintain electrolyte balance and is present in most of the foods. Zinc is definitely during pregnancy is important for congenital malformations, and that's why red meat, seafoods, whole grains, and legumes, but there are no specific recommendations for lactation. And in fact, if the mother is taken good amount of food and good nutrition during her pregnancy, which is enriched with all these mineral requirements, then there are no issues during lactation. There is no deficiencies during lactation. So vitamin A, again, vitamin A, normal recommendation, daily recommendation of vitamin A, 600 mg or 480 mg in terms of retinol as well as beta carotene respectively. But requirement increases by 300 mg to reach up to 950 mg per day. And sources of retinol are animal foods, beta carotene are present in a lot of plant foods which are orange and pulpy yellow fruits and vegetables like carrots, pumpkin, mango, green leafy vegetables, dark green leafy vegetables, and vegetable oils. Vitamin B complex are required in very small quantities, but they are very, very important as nutrition, as nutrients. So marginal increase is there during lactation. Again, a variety of foods which are rich in thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and pantothenic acids, which are present in variety of foods, should be given to the lactating mothers. So my slides are not going forward. Can you all hear me? Yeah, right. So as I said, vitamin C is very important for the absorption of iron. the normal recommended daily requirement is 40 mg, which is just a double requirement during lactation. Sources are amla, guava, and lots and lots of citrus fruits, which contribute even lemon. Vitamin D, we depend on exposure to sunlight. Good sources are fish, fish oils, and eggs, and folic acid. Normal recommended daily requirement of folic acid is 200, which is increased marginally to 300. Sources, again, the sources are organ feeds, a variety of foods, green leafy vegetables, and nuts. So vitamin E, there's some other vitamins, E, K, dietary fiber, and water. There are no specific recommendations. The normal recommendation of fiber is 25 gram of dietary fiber recommended for 1,000 kilocalorie, which is a normal requirement and which is also practiced during lactation. So this is a very hazy slide which I have taken from a technical module which is developed by Foxy, Maternal Nutrition Services Antenatal. I sort of like this diet chart, which is very nicely made. Now, till now, I have just explained to you the various requirements of vitamins, minerals, macronutrients like proteins, carbohydrates, fats. But these are just the numbers. And we have said what are the sources. But how do you fix it in a balanced diet? The main bet to provide of advice is how to translate this nutritional recommendations into diet recommendations. So what is a balanced diet? The balanced diet is that we provide a variety of foods in our diet, which could be both complex as well as simple in terms of the quality of food. It should be balanced in terms of both quantity as well as quality. So what are these foods which should be provided in a balanced diet? We should have cereals and millets to the tune of 10 portion sizes, which will include rice, chapati, paratha, and it may vary from the geographical areas, bread, and porridges, dalia, and a variety of cereals. As I said, ragi is very good source of calcium. So ragi could be at regional areas. Ragi is used very popularly. Then vegetables, about 3 to 4 servings of vegetables, 1 to 2 servings of fruits, milk, at least half a liter of milk. As I said, in lactation, it is good to provide 1 liter of milk, which will provide adequate amount of fluids as well as proteins as well as calcium to the mother. Pulses, here in this chart, they have given 3 to 5 servings of pulses. But this is for the vegetarians. It could be a variety of pulses. It could be in the form of nuts. It could be in the form of cooked dal. It could be in the form of soya bean, snacks. And also if somebody is a non-vegetarian, then these pulses can be replaced with egg or meat or fish or chicken. Then of course, fats and oils and sugars, also some amount of these things also needs to be provided in a diet. And something which is very popularly talked about these days is diet diversity. And what is diet diversity? So diet diversity depends on the food groups and it ensures the quality of the diet, which is in terms of micronutrients. So here in this picture, we show the five different food groups, which is pulses and other grains like cereal grains, dark green leafy vegetables, orange and pulpy fruits and vegetables, which is particularly rich in vitamin A, egg and meat, which is proteins, and milk products, which is rich in calcium, proteins, vitamins, and fats. So if we pick up at least 2 food items and more food items from pulses and grains group, then a variety of these foods from each of these food groups needs to be picked up to ensure diet diversity of a lactating mother. And this will ensure the quality of the diet. So another thing which is galactogog, and we know we have a lot of natural resources which enhances the, breast milk output and lactation, which promotes lactation. And these are some of these, oil seeds we have uh, in our daily use, we use in our daily use. So these can be incorporated in our food to promote lactation for the mother. So one thing I would like to say, a lactation period of lactation is not just a period of lactation that we focus on nutrition. We have to start from the time the mother has conceived, and not that is also not enough. There's so many adolescent health programs, specially focused on the girl child and adolescent female, Kishori Shakti Yojana, to improve the health and nutrition status of the child, and specifically Balika Smriti Yojana to delay the age of marriage so that the female or the girl child is ready for the marriage and bear the burden of pregnancy and lactation. So these things, the proper nutrition has to start right from the adolescent age. And our government has started some of these programs which is looked into the proper nutrition right from the start, right from the female child is born, and so that she becomes, pregnancy is without any events and her lactation is proper and she's able to produce a lot of milk. So this is what I have to say, and I would give you time to ask questions. If there are any in the chat box, I'll try to answer. And I would add something from my experience as far as lactation is concerned. And I have seen 2-3 of these mothers who have come to us in the hospital saying that from 0 to 6-month-old child, if they have diarrhea, if they come with diarrhea, we often are very suspicious of, that if the child is exclusively breastfed, then why does the child have diarrhea, right? So same thing happened with us when our mother approached us, and she was a very slim mother from the village, and they were farmers. They had a lot of cows and buffaloes in their house, and the mother used to drink at least 2 liters of milk every day, right? And the child was very, very healthy, but the child continued to have watery diarrhea since the time he was born. So we were wondering whether he has lactose in, what does the child have? Does he have some kind of a milk allergy or anything? And we tested the child and we realized the mothers, then we decided to do, we didn't find any clue. And we decided to see that how much of the mother's milk the child is receiving. To my surprise, because the mother was thin but so well nourished, she used to have 2 liters of milk and all her, meals at the proper time and variety of foods. She used to have, her appetite was also a lot of appetite, a tall mother, thin mother, slim mother, and pink. The child was receiving to the tune of 1200 ml of milk. We measured the amount of milk the mother was producing. So it is amazing, and that's why the lactose content of the child was so high and he was having diarrhea. So we had to tell the mother to reduce the amount of milk given to the child, right? So this is my experience about good food and nutrition with the mother was receiving at her home without even knowing the benefits. She just felt that she's a lactating mother and she must eat enough to provide good nutrition to the child. And that's how she was drinking. And we had to tell the mother not to drink so much of milk because of drinking so much of milk, probably she's producing so much of milk, breast milk, and the child is having diarrhea. So this is one of our experience which, actually made us very confused initially why the child is having diarrhea. So this is what I have to say, and you can ask me questions. Hello. So I realized that I finished a little fast. Because the more important in lactation is to give a variety of foods to the mother. Specific recommendation of some of the nutrients, which is particularly of calcium, proteins, and iron absorption, which is there. But then at the end of the day, when you realize there's so many sources of foods, how do we ensure that all these foods are given to the mother and ensure the quantity as well as quality of nutrition to the mother is by diet diversity and choosing your food groups and allotting the particular kind of food items from their from the list, and ensuring that from each food groups a variety of food items is given to the mother in her diet on the daily basis. So
thank you so much, ma'am. If anyone is having any doubts, please can you just send to the message, or you can also talk. If anyone is having any doubts, you can clear it right now. If you're not able to unmute, can you just type the message in the chat box?
yeah.
At least ma'am will be able to see.
Okay, there are some people. Yeah. So another thing I would say that, these numbers are not so important, Often we get jumbled up between numbers, so much of fat, so much of protein, we keep calculating. This is not practical. You're not going to the mother to say that, you have to have 30 grams of fat more. So the popular, practices to give a lot of fat in the form of laddus and panjiris and all that. As I said, our food already has a lot of invisible fat. So we have to also account for these invisible fat and then provide some amount of fat. More important is to provide your calcium, protein, vitamin C for iron absorption, and all those kind of things, and take a variety of food items from these food groups. So what you should remember is our food groups, and choose items, a variety of food items from these food groups that will automatically ensure your macronutrients as well as micronutrients. So one doesn't have to all the time count on the numbers. I don't think that is very, very practical. And also, how would you ensure this such a huge amount of food to be given to the mother? So one has to also see that the mother eats at least 5 to 6 times in a day, so that you ensure a variety of food items. Otherwise, if she just eats twice in a day, then she will not be able to eat all that amount of food which we are recommending.
Any more doubts are there? If you have any, please just type. I think there is some query regarding the physical activity for the mother.
Yes, whenever, we didn't really tackle on that, but we said that we took a non-pregnant and a non-lactating mother, which is usually 55 kgs and requires 1 gram protein per kg body weight, which is 55 grams. And then various recommendations are given for sedentary, moderately active, and a very active mother. But yes, activity is taken into consideration, and also the weight of the mother. If she is overweight, then we have to reduce the total amount of calories. Normally what we prescribe to any individual is 25 kilocalories per kg body weight, which is a normal mother, which is non-pregnant and non-lactating mother. 25 kilocalories per kg body weight per day. If the mother is overweight by 5 kgs, then you reduce 5 kilocalories per kg body weight per day, and there is an adjustment made how much calories. How do you calculate the ideal body weight? It is a height in centimeters. That's a quick way of doing it. Height, weight in centimeter. You also have your charts, and you can consult the charts whether the mother is overweight or underweight, and accordingly increase or decrease the calories. But the quick way of doing is your height in centimeters minus 100, whatever figure you get, that is in kgs, and that is the ideal weight, should be the ideal weight of the mother, right? But again, I would say exactly on that, the mother could be 2-3 kgs more than what you have calculated is perfectly fine, because there are a lot of individual differences. And how much is the mother working at home? Because all these lactating mothers must be doing household work also. So one has to give such certain allowance for this. And if she is lactating and if she is breastfeeding very sincerely the way we have advised her, during the course of her time, she will lose weight. So it is not so much geared on the numbers. It is more on whether her practices of lactation and breastfeeding is correct or not, whether she is taking a lot of variety of foods which are rich in calcium, proteins, and vitamin C, and also not too much of fat. She can eat adequately a variety of food, but not too much of visible fat. It could be invisible fat, which is very good, but not visible fat. So, of course, yeah.
Ma'am, there is a query for like crustaceans and their relationship with lactation. Actually, during lactating period, they say that we have high calcium foods. So we have a tendency to take fish, and apart from that, some of them they like to have crabs, prawns, etc. But this might cause distension and
Yeah,
problem of gastritis for the child as
yeah.
well as for the mother.
Yes. So definitely, one has to be careful of, sometimes we are very, very enthusiastic about taking a lot of foods, because we want to benefit the child. So, but everything has to be taken in moderation. One should not overdo any one particular food item. And also crabs and all that, if it is taken in a very small quantity is fine. It's taken in a lot of quantity and the whole food is just calcium rich foods, which is involving only crabs and fish and all that, that is not correct. It should be, as I say, in diet diversity, it should be a mixed variety of food. There should be a lot of variety in a particular meal time. So do not derive your nutrients just by one food. Should be a variety of food. Suppose you're taking a lot of fish and all, doesn't have a lot. It's not good in terms of fiber and all that. So you're missing on that. And rightly said, you may have gastritis, you may have other kinds of problems. So along with that, you must have some complex carbohydrates or cereals or grains as well, or some pulses or some vegetables along with that to so that's why I said the whole meal should have been a lot of variety. So not just one thing. Of course, it could be divided along, in the 6 meals, a small amount of everything could be divided in these.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. And one more thing regarding the GDM, before the delivery, might be the mother is having a gestational diabetic, and
Yeah.
is it like they have to control their intake after the delivery so that it
Most of
doesn't shoot up?
Yeah. Most of the time, if the gestational diabetes is properly tackled during pregnancy, it's not really necessary. Most of the mothers come out of it. They are no more diabetic as soon as they deliver the baby. But definitely, gestational diabetes does tell you that during the maybe in 5-6 years, this mother may become diabetic. She is prone to diabetes later on, right? So our prevention of diabetes start right from the childbirth, even if she is not having the symptoms of diabetes at this time. She may be non-diabetic after the delivery of the child, but she's prone to have developed diabetes later on. So definitely our balanced diet, our good quality diet and prevention of that diabetes is very important, and we must start right from the time the child is born.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And any other queries are there? Still we have time. If anyone is having any doubt, please either you can mute or you can unmute and or you can send a message.
Folic acid tablets, somebody.
I think there is no response. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for giving us a wonderful and an informative talk on this lactating mothers, nutritional importance of lactating mothers. And
Thank you very
on
much.
behalf of the department, I thank you, and on behalf of all my officers also, I thank you so much for the presentation which you have given today.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to talk to so many of my colleagues who are out right there in the field, grassroots level. Very nice talking to you, all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.